Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am coming to you from Boulder, and I'm coming at you with Dr. Ramelmeier over in Maryland, right?
Correct.
All right. Well, so happy to be with you, Dr. Ramelmeier. Welcome to our show, and we're going to talk about all good things health, and that we're going to start with one of my favorite topics, homeopathy, and I know one of your favorite topics.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
So how long, first and foremost, let's set a stage. How long have you been practicing homeopathy?
About 21 years.
Okay. So you're legit. You know the benefits of it. You've seen it. You wouldn't have stayed with it if it wasn't working great.
No.
I'm
a certified veterinary homeopath, so I did go to school for homeopathy in addition to my DVM, my doctorate of veterinary medicine.
Yep.
I did go through all the certification process to be called a certified veterinary homeopath.
You know what I've never asked anybody in homeopathy, in veterinary homeopathy, is where, like, if you could give me the top 3 most used for, cases. I know we got to just say this because everybody's, we always have to say this. Every dog's unique. Every case is unique. Okay, we got it. So top 3, what would you say is like where you use it the most, where you see it being like just the most low-lying fruit, slam dunk, works great?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it works great for anything, but as far as the most cases I see a lot of skin cases, a lot of digestive cases, and also a lot of cancer cases. And it works really well for all of those things. It pretty much works well for anything. There isn't really anything that homeopathy does not treat very well.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful system of medicine, and I don't need to use any other system of medicine with homeopathy because it works so well and so thoroughly.
I even talked to a vet who talked about using homeopathy when your dog ingests something toxic.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So there's a remedy called Arsenicum, and that's the biggest remedy we use for toxicity. So I actually have used it on humans for alcohol toxicity, and it works really well.
Wow.
Not
so
me.
If my dog ingests like xylitol by accident or something like that, would that be something you would use? Or
potentially, or we might even combine it with some of the charcoal capsules, or if they just ingested it, might do a little bit of hydrogen peroxide to get them to vomit up anything that they had just ingested.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Excellent. So you and I just really brief. I don't like to talk to our interviews too much before. I like this to be very organic conversation. Mm-hmm. But you and I really briefly talked about the let's just say campaign against homeopathy, which is really nothing new. It seems like these go in waves, and they just keep coming back and trying to get rid of ways to find wellness. Let's just say. So, can you tell us a little bit about what is happening against veterinary homeopathy?
Well, it's human and veterinary homeopathy.
Yeah.
And the FDA passed in 2017, passed a directive that said they were going to force all homeopathic remedies to go through a process of approval, which is very, very impossible to do with homeopathic medications. And we fought when we fought them. We definitely gave them all the information about homeopathy, how it really shouldn't even be under the FDA. It should be under the Cosmetic Act, where it's always been. And they had a hearing and invited us, and then they canceled it at the last minute in the morning. We were supposed to meet with them in the morning, and then they said, nope, we're not doing it. And then 2 or 3 months ago, they went ahead and passed this directive. And now they've been basically cherry picking various homeopathic formulations and taking them off the market. Like they took off all the eye medications just recently. That's the last one. and then they'll, go through and pick out whatever remedy they don't like and remove it. But right now, the way we're trying to fight it is to go to the individual congressman, because basically FDA is under the Congress control. But there, it's a difficult process and a very slow process. So it's not going. We're so far FDA at least has just removed a few things so far, but we're trying to get Congress involved to reverse this.
Yeah. So, they could be sly and tricky. They pulled this with even just nutritional herbs,
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And, I'm afraid it's probably something probably the main reason is there's just not a big enough lobby for homeopathy or nutraceuticals. Mm-hmm. There is for pharma. So what can the average person do, especially the one that understands that, homeopathy saved their pet or saved them? I mean, what could you do to contribute to this?
Hey there, this is Rob Ryan. I just want to say how much we enjoy making this content for you here. And if you are enjoying it, would you like our video down below? And would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? It sure does help us get discovered by more people like you who need information like this. And also down below in our description, the top link is to our trial pack. We hope you'll order one for your dog so your dog can have fermented superfoods that give them nutrition like they can't find anywhere else. Hard to get nutrients that are easily absorbed. Thank you very much. Now back to the show.
Well, communicate with your congressman. You can get involved with the organization called HAT, H, capital H, capital A, capital T, and see how you can help there. And they always send out, they very often send out petitions that you can sign, but just make it very clear that, you're not, you don't agree with this. You don't agree with homeopathy being taken off the table as an option.
Yeah.
What I tell my clients is, please buy a homeopathic kit. We don't know how long they're going to be around. So you can buy really nice homeopathic kits so we can at least, be able to treat in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this includes like everybody that's ever touched anything natural medicine knows Arnica, which is
right.
It's incredible I use it. I have like 3 boron Arnicas in my shelf.
Mm-hmm.
You never know when you're going to need it.
Right. I just took it today. My arm hurts. Made it feel better.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And so the hat would that be the homeopathychoice.org?
Maybe. Okay. Homeopathic Action. I don't know what the T stands for.
Yeah.
But there's a whole training process in order to help with hat. But at least get connected with them so they can send you the petitions and do your best to communicate with your congressman to let them know that you really do want to keep this system around.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really not hyperbole. It's it's life saving. A lot of this stuff is just so key, and it works so different than everything.
Yeah, it's very powerful and it's very immediate. I call it a miracle medicine. It's just amazing how fast it works and how thoroughly. And, have, certainly a good clientele because they've seen how well it works in their pet.
Yeah. Can I show you just on screen? I think this is it. I just want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Does that look like the right one? Americans for Homeopathy Choice.
Oh, I can't see what you're showing me.
Can't see it on screen?
No, how do I do that?
Let's see. Let's see.
I should get my computer.
Oh, here we go. Add to stage. Does that look right? Let's see. And then, I'm sorry, I'm new to this whole sharing screen thing. But
yeah, that looks good. That's it.
Yeah. So great. Mm-hmm. We'll put that on the screen. And, all right. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. I know I'm like really new at all that. homeopathychoice.org. Real simple. That's the website we just put up. Okay, so what I'd love to do is transition, and we're probably going to end up going into some homeopathy. Let's transition into cancer care and we couldn't possibly in an hour talk about all the things you've done in your practice. We're gonna try to bite this off into pieces because you've worked with exotic pets and all kinds of. I'm actually personally very fascinated about the exotics. But let's talk about like dogs, cats, cancer. What in your career? What are you seeing has worked the most in palliative care and helping them heal and helping them keep it at bay, or maybe even reverse possibly?
Well, I have to say homeopathy is probably the most powerful influence on reversing the cancer. So there's definitely a way of practicing homeopathy for cancer. It's a specific type of homeopathic system.
Yeah.
So, which I basically use it in all my cancer patients. We have, unfortunately, it's increasing how many cancer patients we're getting. It used to be 1 in 4 dogs had cancer, but it's getting to be, a lot higher.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
But I definitely, also work on the biome. If this dog has been on antibiotics, then we'll definitely do an animal biome test.
Yep.
And see what's going on with the biome. Because as you know, the biome is very important with the immune system. And cancer is due to a combination of a depressed immune system and toxicity. So those two things usually have to happen in order to have cancer. Yeah. So I'm going to target improving the immune system by improving their gut flora.
Yeah.
And I like standard processed products as well.
Great company.
Yeah. And they have a lot of immune stimulants that I will use to help improve the T cell production. And then toxicity, we have to look at that. So sometimes, we start with the remedy Arsenicum because the animal's very toxic, could be toxic from surgery or toxic because their owners use chemicals on their lawn or feed really horrible food.
Yeah.
So there's certainly a whole lot that goes into treating cancer. And then we, certainly when I do the intake, we look at all the things that are causing that toxicity in the household.
Can you go through a couple of those? Because I don't think those are ever things we can never repeat those enough. So lawn spraying, greening your lawn, herbicides and all that.
Right.
Now those are the really bad ones. The weed killers and all that. What else?
Yeah, Roundup, obviously. Roundup has certainly been, Roundup or glyphosate, been heavily influenced in cancer. And it's a heavily influencer of cancer. We also have to look at the water supply. We want to make sure that the water is filtered. You never want to give fluoride, chlorine to your pet. So usually reverse osmosis attached to your faucets. For a short-term solution, you can do a Brita. We also have to see if they're on heartworm preventative or the flea control medications. They can't be on those and treat for cancer because they're one of the sources of toxicity. So in any medication, they'll have to come off. They're on like a mood elevator. They have to come off all these medications because they're all, a form of the causing the toxicity, and they're also putting a stress on the liver. And our liver is very important in resolving cancer.
Yeah, keeping you clean.
Right, you need to get you clean.
Yeah, and kidney. But so I'm going to bite this off because this is like a personal current thing for me. I looked at a move to all the places that were like on the top of my list, all were heavy heartworm areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the best vets that I talk to all the time, I said, is there a completely natural way to make sure that, I could keep my dog heartworm free and all of that, all the risk? Most of them said no. I mean, there's just not it's such a serious issue that it's tricky too. The whole, the life cycle of the larva and all this stuff. I mean, you start getting into it, it's kind of like, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just elected not to live there. So, and I know that, that's not people, not everybody can do that. But when somebody does need to live or wants to live in an area and they're on heartworm medication, do you do like a cleanse? Like, do you do constant cleansing, or what would you recommend?
I probably would go to using ivermectin, like an injectable ivermectin, where you're just using very small dose and only give like 3 or 4 doses a year.
Okay.
And then in my area, in Maryland, we don't really have a lot of heartworm where I live. So I just take them completely off it and then test them every 6 months. And if they do come up positive, which has been never, then I would put them on the heartworm medication. But, I do see some heartworm cases come up from South Carolina and North Carolina. But I think, maybe what I would recommend is ivermectin used very minimally, and I would be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And not be so toxic. It wouldn't be very toxic.
Yeah. So there'd be an injectable, and okay, so if somebody,
or you can get oral ivermectin, but you want to do just ivermectin. All the heartworm medications that are being sold right now are in combinations, and there's just too many things, and they're adding more and more things. 3 or 4 different medications in one heartworm medication. Yeah,
it's just, I mean, we have to remember too that the things they're killing are living beings, and so they're the nature of the medication is to kill living beings, but your pet is a living being, and so what is it doing inside? It's
Mm-hmm.
Think about it at a very fundamental level. It's not very hard to realize that you got to be careful with these things.
Yeah, I mean, there is a percentage death rate from heartworm preventatives, so it's not a completely safe medication that they're using.
Yeah. Also, the other thing, there's a theme that always comes up in most of our shows, which is the things that we do for convenience. It's the 1 pill a day, 1 pill a month, 1 pill a year, whatever. The more convenient it is, usually the more serious the consequences and the payback, the cost of long-term costs. It's the things that we do for convenience and the things that we're doing to ourselves just for the benefit of ease is usually not always good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I definitely tell people to stay away from like Frontline Advantage. There's like no reason ever to need to use those because we have so many other holistic options to treat fleas and ticks.
Yeah, fleas are, very. What if you first? I had with my first dog. I had 25 years ago a flea thing area with some fleas, and that was when he was a puppy. And oh my gosh, they're overwhelming when you have to encounter them, and all you want to do is kill, get rid of them. But then you realize how absolutely they're weak. They're not a strong, you compare that to heartworm, it's a little different, but they're not a very hardy species, or animal. So you can get rid of them even just with like a really good
water.
Yeah.
Just water kills them.
Yeah. You just drown them. Yeah. And then you vacuum really well, you use diatomaceous earth.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, once I learned about diatomaceous earth, I bought a big bag, and I was a diatomaceous crazy person. And then you realize, okay, calm down. You don't need to put diatomaceous earth on everything, or boric acid. So So let's go back to cancer. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about things in the house now. So we talked about water. We got off on a tangent.
Well, EMFs, you have to make sure that they're at a low level. So you don't want your dog sleeping next to the smart meter. If you have a smart meter, I'd recommend cloaking it. And there's, online you can buy a cloak for the smart meter. You probably want to turn your Wi-Fi off at night because EMFs definitely are part of the cancer issue as well.
Yeah.
And then, watch out for your sofas. If you have flame retardant on them, those are also a form of endocrine disruption or cancer.
Yeah.
So maybe, cotton blanket on those type of sofas.
Yeah.
Making sure you use clean vinegar and water versus, all the various, cleaning supplies you're going to find on the market. So, use, more holistic cleaning supplies because they're on the floor. And if you clean the floor with something toxic, then they're going to, lick their feet and adjust it.
Yeah. So this thing you brought up, I know smart meters are becoming more and more pervasive, like because the companies don't have to. They're on your electricity meters, and a company used to have to put a person to do all the walking to each of the homes, read it. These just send a signal to a car that drives by, and all the computer just pulls it up, and it's cheaper. An investment by the company, and I guess this could probably be more than electricity. Probably could be your gas meter too, right? I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's for convenience for and cost for these companies. But what it does is all the transmission it's another signal that's bombarding you and your dog's system. And so you just brought up a cloak. I never have heard of this, actually. I'm really disappointed in myself for never hearing about it. So is that one of these little devices that I just went on and looked? Do you have any company that you know about that you like or anything like that?
It's a fabric. It's actually a fabric, like a Faraday type fabric, a Faraday cage or Faraday fabric. Where you just cover the thing in a fabric and tape it using duct tape or something like that. Yeah. But I don't have a smart meter. I opted out when I knew they were being installed. And at first they charged me a lot, but now they don't anymore. So some guy comes and checks the meter every so often. Yeah. And then I turn off my Wi-Fi at night.
Yeah. But yeah, this is an issue I pay a lot of attention to. For those folks that are living in apartments, you can't control it. Condo complexes, you can't control it. They make a decision for you. So these Faraday cages are just like they resist, they block the signals, and what you're saying is you can tape it to the other side of the meter within your wall, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess you'd have to wrap it all the way around it best you can. The other thing you can buy is a blue shield, and you plug it into the wall, and it's good for it. It reverses the impact of the EMFs for 40 feet around it, and it's spelled Blue Shield without an E, so BLU, and then shield. And I have one of those as well, and you can get one for your personal self where you just carry it on you all times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. So
yeah, and they've done all their research, and they actually did a before and after on somebody's blood. They showed the before and after of the impact of the Blue Shield. Okay. Because a lot of the EMFs do impact our blood. We see a lot of leukemia with the EMF impact.
Yeah, interesting. This Blue Shield, I'm not suggesting you're an expert on it. So if you don't know, you don't know. But what does it do? Does it absorb the EMFs? Do you know how the mechanism?
No, I don't know. I don't think it absorbs the EMFs. I think so what I'd recommend you do is read about it.
Yeah.
Online, and but it is sort of a complicated thing that it does. But I think it more keeps the area safer. I think it says definitively that it doesn't block the EMFs. It doesn't, but it definitely makes it so that you're safer in this area.
Okay.
Like I know we have a lot of, there you go. I know we have a lot of like 5G towers around us.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it.
Yeah. So it's for those folks that are listening, Blue without the E at the end of Blue, and then Shield spelled the regular way -US.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look into this right after this podcast. I'm really gung-ho about this. I used to have an analog light timer, a timer you plug into that, when I go to bed at 10, it shuts off my Wi-Fi. I don't have that. But, you have your neighbors, and then you have these towers for cell, and you just bombarded. So I am now just starting to look at this, bed situation, like, Faraday cage over your bed. And it looks like, it's like, reminds me of like a, like the nights, the old days of the nights and or even like a mosquito tent or something. You put it over your bed and it's keeping those signals out. So at least you get a respite, a relief for 8 hours that you sleep, and my dog sleeps in my bed with me. For lack of for better or for worse, but I like it. So, he'll get a benefit from it. And, I'm now just starting to come to terms with the fact that I might have this over my bed. It's just the world we live in. What can I say?
Yeah, that'd be protective. Definitely.
Yeah. So, but like, plug-in air fresheners, we have, that's
no, don't do that.
Yeah. All these chemicals that we're using, the Mop and Glows or whatever the brand is, all these chemicals for the cleaning your floors.
Candles, you have to watch your candles.
Yeah. Like beeswax candles?
Yeah. I don't use them a lot, but I would say beeswax and that are scented with essential oils and not a fragrance. You don't really want a lot of fragrances.
Yeah.
In the animal's environment. And the other thing that I have to remove altogether in a cancer patient is vaccination, because the vaccination process does warp the DNA and is one of the biggest instigators of the cancer.
Yeah.
So when I do homeopathy, that's one of the things I'm doing is reversing the impact of the vaccinations. But we don't want to do any more. No more vaccinations if you have a cancer patient.
Yeah. I think some of the, holistic vets that give vaccinations, when they'll tell you, well, I'm injecting this vaccine in this area so that if it did cause a reaction, we can amputate this limb, let's say. You go, what? And so with holistic vets, and that's with, they read every single thing. They're very, very, they're not just reading the thing coming from the product manufacturer. They're reading all the studies of all the side effects and things that could happen. I can't remember, I'm trying to remember back to my first 2 dogs. We gave, it might have been rabies. We might have done a half dose in the tail. I'm trying to remember. And I think I remember the vet saying that, well, all we have to do is if there's issue here, we just amputate the tail. And that was my first experience of like, wait, why would that need to happen? Oh my God. What is this thing? So, I only share that because people don't realize what you get, what the pitch is, what you're getting when you the benefits of what the companies tell you is for vaccinations, but not necessarily what the really bad stuff could. And if your dog or cat is, let's just say, less genetically blessed, then you could potentially have a real problem. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that's fair?
Yes, yes. And I don't vaccinate pretty much past like 3 years of age.
Yeah.
But the rabies vaccine is probably the worst as far as inserting chronic disease.
Yeah. But it's also the one that they tell you is,
The law.
it's the law, and also there's no coming back from this. Your dog gets this, they're dead. And my brain thinks, well, what are my likely chances of my dog getting bit by a rabid animal?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I take them on a fair amount of hikes and all that. So you have to do this crazy calculation in your head in the moment, and I don't know. It's very complicated. But yeah, then you've got different laws that want it to be done every single year.
Oh,
1 to 3.
in Florida, I guess. Maybe in Florida.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but there are states that are every year, and many are usually 3 every 3 years, right? But
yeah, most of them are every 3 years. But yeah, I am very careful with that rabies vaccine. We don't give it to them if they're not healthy. But you can't really navigate very well right now. You can't go, if you're not rabies vaccinated, you can't go to grooming, you can't have them boarded, you can't even sometimes go into a regular vet office if they're not fully vaccinated. So I do give rabies vaccines, and at least so that they can navigate through this, and so that they need to have their animal boarded. But I do it in a very safe manner. I do Reiki or laser the area after I'm done. I've never had any side effects with how I do this.
you probably do homeopathy.
Right. I do homeopathy afterwards.
Yeah.
So I don't really have cancer in my practice either. The cancer comes from other veterinarians. So, because to me, I don't want to generate my own income. I don't want to generate my own work. I want to keep my animals healthy and live a long time and be healthy, yes, and happy. So I'm not going to over-vaccinate. I'm not going to over-medicate. And we're going to, keep them. And if they need medical treatment, then it's homeopathy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know a vet ever, that said, I'm going to get into veterinary practice so I can cause disease within the animal and then try to fix it. That's been said never. What I think happens is some vets get put into a box. They allow themselves to be put into a box where there's just 4 corners and that's it. There's 4 ways to get out of this box with any illness. They're more limited in the tools they have to heal an animal, and there's a financial need to pay for their student loans, pay for their practice, all that. It's a nasty situation. I feel really sorry for them, but then you've got holistic vets that they get to practice wellness, and I don't know. Call me crazy. If I was a vet, I'd only want to have happy days, or most of my days are happy. Like, look how thriving this dog is doing. I'm, yeah. The fact that you can say I don't have cancer on my practice is like just such a beautiful, just a lovely thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of corporate takeover of the veterinary hospitals. So they do sort of have a cookbook way of how they want their vets practicing, and there is a bottom line of how much income they want that veterinarian to bring in, and that means give all 5 vaccines at once.
Yeah.
And they don't even give the veterinarian a choice. The tech will draw up 5 vaccines and stick them there and say, okay, you're giving that to this patient.
Yeah.
So they don't. Yeah, some of these vets don't really even have a lot of control over what they're doing, and then some don't really believe that they're causing any harm.
Yeah. Yeah, and the practice, the model is, from, I don't know if you'd say breeder or cradle to grave, but basically the food is controlled by the same company. They own most of these large corporate practices. Some of them you don't know because they maintain the same name as the local vet who started it. They buy the practice. They keep the same, Main Street vet or whatever. They're corporate owned. So all the practices are the same. And then they own they own the pet food, kibble. They own the veterinary practice. And then they own the at least a piece of the insurance companies. And then a lot of them. And then they own in some cases, the funeral services. So the whole line is there. It's quite insane. It feels insane, but it's a business. I understand it's a business, but in that business is built in, there's a whole system of corporate, Well, you said, how did you say? You said it was
we're prescribed. I mean, it's a certain prescription. It's a certain, this is what you're going to do for this age of a dog. And we're not going to modify it. And I actually did work for one of these folks for a while. So I know the inside, and they had graphs on the inside of the office of your production. And I wasn't there for very long because they'd want me to give 5 vaccines to an unhealthy animal. And I'd say to the owner, are you sure about this? And then the owner would say, no, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, okay. So anyhow, I wasn't very popular with that corporate office, but
yeah.
So, and then I was like, raw food. They didn't like that either because they want you to eat, the pelleted hills or Purina or Iams. And I'm a raw food proponent.
Yeah.
For healthy biome.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who knew? Yeah. But, okay, so let's talk about diet now. So, obviously we have Dr. Billinghurst on our team at Gussie's Gut, and I learned from him. My first dog, I got phone consults from him to teach me how to feed my dog. So, so that's our way. How do you think about raw food?
Well, I think it's the gold standard. I'm going to turn on the light. It's the gold standard, and pelleted foods are, they're very often full of toxins.
Yeah.
They very often have, corn, soy, byproducts, chicken byproducts. So I never recommend anything pelleted. I don't recommend anything dehydrated. I recommend raw food. Either you make it yourself or you buy it through, whatever it might be, Primal or Steve's.
Yeah.
And then for like a cancer patient, then I really try to do organic as much as possible. Because even the ones I mentioned aren't 100% organic. So very often that means actually making your own diet for a while. So going, getting organic meat, organic vegetables, and making the diet for the patient until they start to recover.
Yeah. But so the reason we want to do organic is it's clean. Okay. It's like, doesn't have the pesticides, herbicides, theoretically, even though nowadays that glyphosate and other pesticides are so pervasive. But what's the why behind that? Like when you say, I prefer your dog to have an organic diet right now, with that in mind, what is the actual reason? Like, why can't my dog have a little bit of this, a little bit of that chemical?
Well, mainly because of glyphosate. Because if you're not feeding organic, you're getting pretty good doses of glyphosate. I mean, if you're feeding, basically everything that's not, even the organic foods you have to be careful with, what your source is.
Yeah. Because
glyphosate is just pervasive and really heavy duty on all the grains that are not organic. In the meats, certainly indirectly, either, and if they're not organic, then they're likely have antibiotic residues, and that's going to destroy the biome. And the biome, as you know, is very important for recovering from cancer. Has to be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's, in many cases, I guess most is fair. It's the beginning of disease, and the Chinese for thousands of years have said death begins in the gut, and we don't like to say death because it's so scary and horrifying, but it's true, and it's thousands of years old. So I guess where I'm gonna lead the witness here. You're the witness. Where I'm getting at this is, yes, we know glyphosate, herbicides, pesticides, all that. But is it at its heart, the reason you don't want that is that do you think of chemicals as being an assault, a constant assault? Like, that's how I visualize it. It just constantly pounding down on the entire system of us and our dog, cats. And so I think of it in a very simple way, that if you've got cancer and you're down with cancer, you need every advantage. The last thing you need is having something beating up on you every single day and that's constantly suppressing you. Is that how you can you give us a visual? Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I mean, yes, certainly these things, they accumulate in your fatty tissue, and it takes a very long time for you to remove them. So the more you take in, the longer it's going to take to reverse that.
Yeah.
I mean, as clean as possible. I'm not going to say any of us are going to be able to do the 100% thing, but do it the best you can.
Yeah.
And know your sources of where you're getting your foods.
Yeah.
But, definitely, I mean, the studies have shown glyphosate is carcinogenic. So we know that on that level, it's not just beating up on the liver. It causes changes in the cells.
Yeah. Well,
and
I mean,
lymphoma in dogs is a big example of where, glyphosate use. I will tell you that I have a dog that's on a treated lawn, they're going to get lymphoma very often. And that's a very, very fast-paced cancer.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't even realize, like, you could Google, there's successful lawsuits where a trial and a jury and medical experts have come up, and the glyphosate company, let's say, the company that is responsible for most of it, has put up their, top experts from Harvard and Yale and everywhere else. And then the other, the plaintiff has put up the same experts, and they won in a jury. And it's all non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, the really bad, fast stuff. And I think there was just a trial. So there's been multi-million and billion-dollar lawsuits that have been won by people with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from those. It's been proven. And I think there was one that the one who got $1 billion lawsuit, his dog, he and his wife got it. His dog got lymphoma at that time. So, and they could prove it was it all coincided with the hand spraying, and they, because these companies, they were promoting that you could spray this stuff in shorts and flip flops, and it's no problem. Like, it's just as safe as you could just spray it in your mouth, and it's safe. That's how the marketing was literally done. And turns out these folks believed it, and they got, really sick. So that's why they won the lawsuit. It's horrible stuff.
I will actually fire a client that continues to use that on their lawn. My clients have to stop using anything on their lawn.
Yeah. Well, how could you possibly do what you do, and then have a customer, client of yours say, well, you're not effective. You're not well, wait a second. How do you know I'm not effective? You're spraying your lawns. What you're doing is way worse than what I could ever do to help your animal. So I can give you one step forward, and you take me 2 steps back.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a couple of cases like that where the patient is just not getting better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what are you using on your lawn? And, well, my husband, he has to have a green lawn, and I can't change him. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. Your animal's not going to get better. I'm going to have to, and this is definitely an exercise in frustration.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to let you go.
I mean, it's tragic to have to leave a dog in that situation. And what do you're doing that for a green lawn. Okay.
Yeah.
How about, do you leave clients for bad food?
I lecture them a lot. But definitely, but I won't leave them. I try to work with them best I can. But it is hard. I do have some that, I just can't get them off the, what they're feeding, the dry diets. And, but I'm like, well, I can still get somewhere with homeopathy, but but if somebody's doing glyphosate, I just can't do it. It's just too big of an impact.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of glyphosate in the bad foods, too. So I at least try to get them on an organic dry food, if that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Are there organic dry foods? I didn't even know there were.
Yeah, I think I'm tried Origins, I think, is one. I think there's some out there cleaner than at least, Purina or Iams or... but I don't recommend it. I definitely recommend, if you want a healthy dog that doesn't have to go to the vet, you want to feed a raw diet.
Yeah. Yeah. You're constantly not just playing whack-a-mole game, trying to, fix this. And, it's, I don't know, when you get in the penalty box, you get sick, it's really hard to dig out of it. It is expensive. Emotionally and monetarily, it's just, financially, it's a shame that, we allow ourselves to get in these holes, our pet's health and our health.
Sometimes it's just for ease. I'm just going to fill my dog's bowl up with dry food and
convenience.
Go to work. Yeah.
And they love it. They gulp it up because it's designed that way. And you think, oh my God, how could this be bad? It's look at how much joy they're getting. Well,
see what he's like in 6-7 years,
Yeah.
You might, and an animal that's treated holistically on raw food, not over medicated, they live 25% longer and healthier. They have better lives, longer lives.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, Dr. Ramelmeier, this has been very helpful for us to learn about homeopathy and the state of the medicine. How do I say that? The modality.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and to talk a little bit about cancer, which I don't think we could ever talk enough about because it's happening in 5-year-old dogs.
It is. Younger and younger. I had a 1-year-old dog that I treated for cancer recently, and it's recovered completely. It was a mast cell tumor.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh, I mean, just imagine your puppy, this cute, adorable thing. It's not even full grown. It's dealing with. Oh, gosh. Well, thanks so much again, and I really hope to be able to talk to you again. There's so many different rabbit holes we can go down with all the things you're practicing with. We haven't even touched upon. So thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, everybody, go to Dr. Ramelmeier's site is pureholisticvet.com, and she'd love you to see homeopathicchoice.org to help at least at the time of this recording, to help in the cause of keeping homeopathy around. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great day.